Welcome back to a history of saps, blackjacks, and slungshots. So, as the video name implies, you are looking at a coin sap. This one in particular is from Russian Whips. They sent it my way, and it's perfect timing because as we've worked our way through the timeline, we've kind of skipped these. Coin saps are a leading candidate for maybe the original sap, the first time somebody used a sack-like object, a flexible container, as a weapon. Coins have been around for a very long time, of course, right? Thousands of years, and leather pouches to hold them have been around just as long. Like, just for instance, in ancient Rome, at least according to one writer, they had a coin purse called a crumena, which is basically a sap, and it even had kind of the restraining loop to go around your wrist. Like, basically, pretty similar design, right? To many of the weapons we've seen. And the idea there was to keep a pickpocket from being able to run off with it, but obviously the martial applications were just one swing of the hand away. You have to imagine somebody in a pinch came upon that expedient and used it. So when we change views here, now you can see, how a coin sap is different from almost any other kind of sap because you can open and close it. So that's a unique feature, right? Fill it with whatever you want, replace that filling at some point. It can be coins that you carry around because you're actually going to use them. It can be whatever. And it's really interesting because this is a soft sap that you can kind of customize if you want. You want to fill it with something that'll get the job done, but, causes as little damage as possible. Stuff it full of sand. You stuff it full of nuts and bolts, you're going to get a different result. You stick one large, heavy object in there, which you certainly can, and now you have a hard sap, and it's going to do maximum damage. But as the name implies, they're usually going to be filled with coins. And this is a great way to walk around with something you can use as a sap to defend yourself with, but still provide an everyday purpose. A little easier to explain, right, after you've conked somebody with it, if you get in trouble for doing that. These are popular the world over. And, they're made today in a wide variety. You can find them on Amazon, in fact. You can just look up coin sap on Amazon, but, I'd always prefer a handmade item to kind of a cheap, mass-produced one. So if their convenience as an everyday accessory / weapon is realized enough that they're popular in, a lot of different countries today, surely that was realized a long time ago, especially since people carried more coins back then. Nevertheless, I didn't find it easy to find corroboration of that at all, but it's still one of my leading candidates for, the original sap. So the closest I could get was in fiction. It's not that helpful, but it was by a Nobel winner in literature who won for a series of books that were awarded that prize in part for their in-depth research on life in the Middle Ages. I'm not going to try for a second to pronounce the name of the book or book series, but it's by Sigrid Undset. That was pretty bad as well. But nevertheless, I'd love to know if the author, based this one vignette in the book where a woman strikes a man down with her, basically her purse, the old school version of a purse filled with coins, on some kind of real incident or part of their research. Now, as I indicated, these do not have to be filled with coins, of course. You can use whatever you want, and for demonstration purposes, since I don't have mounds of coins lying around, I use something that I did have lying around, babies. And it makes a great stuffing, right? So now you've just got, again, kind of a do-it-yourself sap to a certain extent whenever you buy one of these. And you can see how this thing is fairly stuffed. This weighs probably about 3/4 of a pound. And then it's pretty easy. You drop in whatever you want, zip it up, and it's good to go. And you might be wondering why you can't use any kind of small, man purse or whatever for this purpose. Well, you can, but one that's designed with this purpose in mind is going to be a lot sturdier and ready for the impact that, it might have to withstand. So let's get our hands on this and see what it's like. Here you can get an indication of the size once I pick it up. That shape is pretty typical. Different makers make them different ways, but they almost always have that kind of shape. It's almost like a butcher blade, right? And it thins out, and that's where you grab. So sometimes the tail's longer than others. This one's got a ring, and I think it fits well that way. I don't know if it's meant to be like a pinky sap like that, but I like the grip there. And you can see how floppy this is, right? You're grabbing it by just that thin tail, so of course it's going to have a high degree of flexibility. And you can see there how it keeps a fairly thin profile, even though I've stuffed it with more than enough shot to be effective. And that's steel. Lead is more dense, so it would take even less of something like that. Now that keyring is actually intended for that, your keys, and they can sit in your pocket and the keys just hang outside of it, and it's great. Easy handle, yank, ready to use. I don't like that application in terms of actual fighting. I'd rather grab it up close, but you could do that. It kind of swings around wildly. So I prefer that, and Martial Arts Geek, you could even flick out with the keys, right, to kind of make them flinch. So here's the insides, and this is worth noting because it's the first time I can show you guys this, right? A soft sap has shifting internals, right? The load moves around. And even when it's closed up, and even when it hits, there's still going to be movement in there. And that's the very unique thing about soft saps, if you recall. Coins would act the same way, you know, somewhat different, of course, but you still have the same overall effect where this, you know, the load comes together and strikes, but it kind of dissipates in the same instant that it's hitting, right? Because it's just shifting around in there and bouncing away from impact. So that's how you get that kind of soft sap effect that I think I've talked about before. So you can knock somebody out without necessarily hurting the skin, leaving a mark, that kind of thing. And this was the soft sap's main selling point throughout history. And finally, how effective could a coin sap be? Well, the answer is definitely plenty. I'll drop in a couple of links. One is a guy who breaks a brick with 2 rolls of nickels, and another is a dude who thinks it's not going to hurt to get hit in the arm with a sock full of change, and he finds out just how wrong he is. So you can see why this weapon is still popular to this day, right? It's convenient to carry, has an innocuous purpose, can get the job done. It's got a lot of selling points that other weapons wouldn't. You know, if you want to carry around a knife for your defense, you can, certainly. But you're going to have trouble explaining that it's, you know, just for opening packages or something like that, or, you know, brass knuckles, etc. So this serves a purpose. You never have to use it for self-defense, but you could. Word to the wise, if you ever do have to use one of these for self-defense, you could still be judged as having carried it primarily as a weapon. So it does not grant you legal immunity from local laws by any stretch. But you know me, I'm a little bit more interested in the historical aspects, and this was an important piece of the puzzle here. So lastly, if anyone has any actual historical incidents, you know, from way back when involving these, please do add them to the comments or send them my way. Thank you.